going to call to order the Raleigh Transit Authority meeting. It is 3:40 p.m. on September the 11th, 2025. Before we get started, I did just want to say very briefly, today is September 11th, which I think is a date to pause and remember lives lost and families that are really forever changed. To me, it's a reminder every year of the resilience that we can show in tragedy and to always look for helpers. So I just wanted to ask everyone as we begin our work today to think of, and remember not just that day, but all the days that we've needed that resilience since. From 9/11 to Helene last year to all of the things that like Go Raleigh and the bus operators went through during the pandemic. Just essential workers are on my mind today, more than ever. So just kind of remembering those everyday service and care in particular. So I wanted to say just a short something about that. So hopefully that helps guide your thoughts and intentions today as it does mine. We'll move formally back into introductions then. We'll start on this end of the table.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Colin Beamer.
Byron Leak.
Mark Teague.
Leo Suarez.
Jen Truman.
Linda Davis.
Nordra Johnson.
And Johnny Thomas.
Thank you, everyone. Looking for a motion to approve the action summary minutes that we had from our August meeting.
I make a motion that we approve those.
I second.
Who wants it? All right, it's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimously approved minutes. So looking at today's agenda then, are there any revisions or additions for what we're doing today?
So, two things. Our Department of Transportation staff that are leading the comp review update are here, and they have reached out asking for one or two board members to help volunteer in that process. We do have a staff member here to speak to that if needed. The chair and I have already spoke, and I think she's volunteering for one of those two spots. If anyone else is interested in that volunteering, we can have some conversation at the appropriate time.
Thanks. Yes, I think that fits into our advocacy opportunities, which is first because we'll want to wait until 4 p.m. to open the public hearing and public comment. So do you want to have them go ahead and talk briefly about that opportunity under advocacy opportunities?
Let's see. Yeah. Reagan Buchanan, if you want to just give a few comments on that. Thank you. Then the second thing that we are suggesting, because we do have that public hearing for the Title VI service equity analysis at 4 p.m., that is a staff action item that would be next up after the advocacy comments. So we may need to push that back depending on the time.
Yes, till after the public hearing. Right. We can do that. Maybe we'll all have a bunch of advocacy things and take up the next 15 minutes. Okay, I do want to hear, just so everyone knows what we're talking about in terms of comp plan engagement.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Reagan Buchanan with the Department of Transportation. Nice to be in front of all of you this afternoon. I am one of the main staff members helping represent the Transportation Department as the city updates its comprehensive plan. And we're in the next phase where they're forming what are called technical working groups. And these groups are composed of staff members and also subject matter experts that are members of the public. So we're reaching out to boards and commissions in the city that are dealing with subjects that are relevant to transportation and asking for volunteers. So Mr. Walker kind of told you all about that already, and it seems like Ms. Truman is already ready to volunteer. And we're welcoming another member of your group if you'd like, but it's also okay just to have one person. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about that.
I think that the time...
Oh, right. I'm happy to speak to the time commitment as well. It's going to start in January. It's over a period of 6 months, and it's one meeting a month, and each meeting will be about 2 hours long. And there'll be a little bit of work to do outside of the meetings, but I won't anticipate that it would be longer than an hour.
Madam Chair, I would definitely be interested in being considered.
I would too.
I have a question. You said subject matter experts. Can you give me some of the subjects that y'all looking for?
Sure. I mean, it's really anything you can imagine under the transportation umbrella, but for you all, because you talk about transit and are very up to date with the conditions of transit in our city, that would probably be the subject area that would be most relevant to the work here. But obviously, it could be anything from bicycle and pedestrian mobility, automobile mobility, aviation, rail, anything about moving people or goods.
Okay.
Okay, it sounds like we do have a couple board members that are interested. So I think what we'll do is we will just have a chat. And one thing that we sometimes do in these situations is have like the main person and then the backup person. So the vice chair and I can't always make it to things. Is that something that would work for this group as well?
The staff is kind of is operating under that same model of having somebody that's the main representative, but then having someone as an alternate if the main person cannot attend. So that would work fine as well.
Okay. So I think if everyone who's interested, if you don't mind just sending me a note via email, and then I will look at everything and let you guys know, and then speak towards your availability, you think, for the 6-month time span as well, because I think it'll be important that it's an active member of the committee for the entire time. Thank you.
Yes.
One question,
Yes.
though. Do you meet in Raleigh?
Yes, we'll meet in Raleigh. The location is TBD, but we will meet in Raleigh.
Do you have an exact day, like Monday through Fridays?
No, that will be determined at a later date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
We'll definitely
Okay, thank you.
get some folks on your list,
okay.
maybe more than you want.
There's another question. I know I'm not supposed to.
Oh, sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
No, it's okay. One last question. Even if somebody wanted to volunteer, let's say I wanted to volunteer, but not because the board is for, is this open to public and other people too?
That's a great question. I can run that by Sarah Shaughnessy, who's the project manager for the entire comprehensive plan update. As far as I'm aware, there are spaces for other members of the public as well, but I think the idea was to reach out to members of boards and commissions first.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry to not give you more of a direct answer, but
No, that's
yeah.
perfect.
Do you know if you will be reaching out to the Raleigh Commission for Persons with Disabilities?
That has been brought up, and yes, I think we will be.
I'm a
looking into
member
that.
of that board, so I don't know if that would help with this conversation.
Well, I guess it depends on how many of those folks want on to.
Right.
I think we can get you an answer within the next week.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Citizens eager to share opinions. Okay, this is the part of our agenda where we do talk about other advocacy opportunities, things that we have attended in the last month or plan to attend in the upcoming month, and that we want our fellow board members to be aware of in terms of work. I do have one small thing to share in that regard, but want to make sure that everyone has a chance to share. Mr. Thomas, do you want to start on your end? No updates is a fine answer.
No updates.
Okay. We're just going to go down the line.
Well, I attended the finance and policy meeting. That was very interesting. I would like to be able to come back and help out if I can.
Yeah. Board members are always welcome at other committees besides their assigned one.
I attended the BRT discussion at Chavis Park, just really explaining to the community about the timeline and how it's going to impact people. And there was a lot of interest, a lot of questions, and I thought it was really, really informative. We've known about it and talked about it for a long time, and it's just always surprising that even people who, it's really hard to believe how difficult it is to communicate with citizens. And I think we're so busy, it makes me really appreciate the communications department. And anyway, that's just, it was very, very helpful, and it makes me realize that one of our jobs as members of the RTA is to be really in communication with our neighbors and the other people in this community, because they rely on us not only to show up here and vote for the things that come up, but also to communicate back to them about things that are happening. And BRT is going to be a big thing that happens very soon. So anyway, I did that. And I also did the meeting, the mayor's meeting the other night for...
That's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about that. But we had several members attend the meeting on Monday night. Take it away.
Yeah, I'll do that briefly, and then we'll continue on. So Monday night, there's a special committee of the city council that's discussing boards and commissions and their roles and responsibilities and how many boards there are and how many boards they might want there to be. They had a public input session that was really targeted towards specific boards, including the Raleigh Transit Authority, myself, and several other members. The vice chair, LaTanya Williams, Linda Davis, and Mark Teague were able to attend. I think that's everyone. If you were there, thank you. We shared thoughts from our board. One of the things they're considering was combining multiple boards and commissions. So at one point, they were considering combining the Committee of the Persons with Disabilities, the Transit Authority, and the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We've talked about this a little in our subcommittee meetings, so hopefully this is not total surprise to anyone. But we spoke about how we weren't sure that that was a great use of resources, and that advocacy and passion that we come to these meetings with, and the connections that we have with our various communities, and just shared thoughts on why it's important that the Raleigh Transit Authority, with its 50 years of history of supporting transit in Raleigh, should be considered in terms of the impact and the transit work that has been done, and lots of transit work that needs to be done and focused on. So those were the comments that I shared. And I think there's some many other comments from the other boards and commissions. So if you are interested, you can watch the rest of the meeting. But we're waiting to hear what City Council does with that feedback and what their intentions are. We are not sure of yet until they decide and tell everyone at a City Council meeting one day. So that's my advocacy for the month. And upcoming things I think everyone knows about are just the general ones, but I'm going to keep moving down. Mr. Teague, did you have anything?
Yes. First off, thank you. Thank you. You represented us very well at your speech on Monday evening. There's a lot of things going on in the community that I'm excited about. October is Walk Month, and it just aligns with the White Cane Day, October the 15th. I ask everyone to please put that on your calendar. We will be meeting at the Legislature Building on Jones Street at 10 a.m. Also, October the 20th is the annual Raleigh Commissions for Persons with Disability annual banquet to recognize individuals, organizations from the community that have done outstanding work for persons with disability. I encourage you, because already for the banquet, a third of the seats have already been reserved, and it's only been open for 2 days. And I would encourage you, if you do know of individuals that you would like to nominate, please do the nominations. You can find the information online. We currently have 4 categories with no nominations. So let's blow this out, make it a great event. We're honored to have Senator Lisa Grafstein as our keynote speaker, and the new Wolfpack announcer, Matt, I can't remember his last name, is going to be our MC. So it's a very good opportunity to meet persons with disabilities. And also, I apologize to Mr. Abrams. In July, he volunteered a Saturday to come and speak with people at the Disability Pride event. So thank you, Sean. That's it.
Thank you. Other opportunities?
No, I did not have any opportunities since the last meeting.
No worries.
Not 100% transit related, but we did have a great volunteer event through Red Hat yesterday with Raleigh Parks and Rec over at Dix Park, where we got a chance to do some beautification, and it was really great to be on the ground with the staff out there at Dix Park who are doing amazing work every day, as all of you know. So not 100% transit related, but a great opportunity to interface with some city staff.
Awesome. And I thought of one more thing, which is next week is parking day. So people around the country will be thinking about not driving their cars. And so please use that opportunity to tell all your friends that they should ride the bus as their alternative to using their car. See, we almost went till 4 with our advocacy opportunities this week.
I'll just add that our next TPAC meeting is September the 18th at 9 a.m., and I believe that's in person at the Campo building in Cary. If you wanted to watch it virtually, there is an option to log in and just watch, but you would not be able to speak during the public comment.
Can y'all remind me who attended in August?
I was unable to.
Okay.
I had difficulty finding to download the app.
For Go Triangle, it is difficult to get to their office, I agree.
Yes.
Would you like to try again in September? Would you like to pass the duty along?
Nadra, I think you had interest.
I can come and get you if you want me.
No, I want you to go. I've got a lot of things going on.
At what time?
Is it 9 a.m. on September 18th? 9 a.m. at September 18th? 1 week from today. And if for some reason, you've signed up and for some reason you can't attend or can't make it, I think you can listen in. They don't always have important things on the agenda, but sometimes there are things I think that would be of interest to our group to know that they are talking about, because their decisions do impact a lot of Go Raleigh's funding.
All of our new funding.
Yeah, a lot, a significant majority portion. Okay, awesome. Can we find something to talk about for 2 more minutes till it's 4 o'clock?
Close enough, and we do have 2 people that have signed up, so once they get finished, we will be beyond the 4 o'clock.
Okay. So we do have a public hearing for the Title VI service change report specifically. So we're going to hold that first before we do our general public comment. We heard the presentation from staff about the changes on this. So we are just going to open the public hearing and ask, is it Jonathan McDonald who's here to speak on that? Please correct me if I missaid your name. No, you're good. It's not cursive, so we're good. You'll have just 3 minutes if you can try to stay there.
Okay. So I read the entire Title VI plan. I think it's great. However, I think some of the frequencies on some of the routes should be increased. Like for the 17, even though it's going every 30, like the hours to, instead of ending at 10, go to midnight like the 18 is now. So then more people have an opportunity to use the bus even later. And basically that's my only comment with the Title VI plan that I could see that could possibly be changed.
And you said 17 or 18?
17.
17. Mm-hmm. Okay, we appreciate that. We're going to do the next person. Thank you for your comments. Thank you. The next person is Chip Thrasher.
My comment is not related to the public hearing, if that's okay.
We'll do those in a minute then, because we're doing the Title VI public hearing, and so yours is general public comment?
I have a general comment.
Okay. Give us 3 minutes to finish this up. Was there anyone else here to speak for the public hearing? We had an informal sign-in sheet, but I just want to look around the room and make sure if anyone else wanted to speak specifically towards the service changes that were in the Title VI report. Okay. All right. The hearing has been open, and now we will close it. And then before we do general public comment, David, did you have a note about the route that the speaker, Mr. McDonald, asked about?
I know that we did have staff. Yeah, I think the speaker also sent an email, and we have responded by email.
Okay.
I can't quote off the top of my head if the span will be extended or not. No, okay, so we are increasing the frequencies from hourly to every 30 minutes all day, but the span is not increasing, so it will still, the last trip will be at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Can we just put those changes onto route committee's discussion so they can look at when in the work plan such things might be happening?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will also point out that in front of each member, there is the two comments that did come in. So, and we have responded by email to that person regarding both of these comments.
I think we just have one. But yes.
One comment with two topics.
Oh, got you. Sorry. I can count today. Thank you. All right. Okay. We'll also do the regular public comment now. So if you'd like to come up, Mr. Thrasher.
Thank you very much. My name is Chip Thrasher. I wanted to mention something about Ask Raleigh. Since we are transitioning from C-Click-Fix to Ask Raleigh, I was noticing that Go Raleigh has two categories for things to report. One being bus stop, like a problem at the bus stop, or a requested enhancement at the bus stop. I thought it would be good to add one for on board or maybe other. I wanted to report some things on board. So I'm going to probably do it through an uncategorized thing on Ask Raleigh, but I don't know who manages it, but I thought that would be a good category to add. That's all.
Can I have a question?
Sure.
When you mean to add on board, you mean like something that you could report that's on board?
Yeah, if I wanted to report an issue that I experienced on board a bus,
Gotcha.
a category for that would be nice. Or just other.
Thank you. That is a good idea. Mr. Walker, do you know where we can direct kind of that investigation? Can staff handle that and report back?
Yeah, we can figure that out. I believe that would be Miss Karen Ray in the manager's office, but we can confirm that and follow up.
Okay. Any other public comment? Okay. We will keep things moving along in the agenda, and I think we can stay in order because we managed to talk for a good long time. So the first staff action then is the Title VI service change. And so staff's requesting that we recommend adoption of this analysis.
Yes. Hello, Sylvia Greer, Senior Transit Planner. You saw me last month to present the Title VI service equity analysis for our upcoming FY26 changes, and it has been available over the last month. So thank you for looking at that and for hearing public comment on it. Just a reminder, the major changes are increasing frequency on 5 routes, adding a new route, and converting one peak-only express route to all-day local microtransit. And the action item is to vote. Well, we recommend that you vote.
Are there any questions, or I would entertain a motion to approve the Title VI report?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we're unanimously approved the Title VI service change adoption.
Thank you.
Thank you. I like increased frequency service change. Okay, we have a series of information items, I believe. So the first one is the Wake Transit Vision Plan. Mr. Ben Howell, good to see you, sir.
Good to see y'all again. Thank you for having me back, and this may be one of the last times you'll see me for at least a little while. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Wake Transit Plan. We are now at the step where we have our recommended transit plan out for public engagement, and we are hoping that it will be adopted by the Wake Transit governing boards in a couple of months. Just a reminder, so we started with the Wake Transit Plan back in 2017 and had an update in 2021. And we had the 4 big moves: connect regionally, connect all Wake County communities, create frequent, reliable urban mobility, and enhance access to transit. And some of the big investments under those include the commuter rail for connect regionally, adding more connections to Raleigh, carrying RTP and more town-to-town bus service. Working on the BRT system, adding bus-only lanes, more night and weekend service, more frequent service for create frequent, reliable urban mobility, and then improving amenities at bus stops, making sidewalks, crosswalks, and bike lanes to connect to bus stops, and expanding on-demand transit programs as enhanced access to transit. Over $200 million has been invested in the first 7 years, and we expect to spend about $350 million over the next few years. Much of that is going to the Bus Rapid Transit program, as well as to the Go Raleigh, Go Wake Access ADA maintenance facility and call center, a multimodal center in Cary, and we also funded the recently completed Russ Bus. So for the 2035 Wake Transit Plan, we're keeping the 4 big moves, and changing the investments under those 4 big moves. For Connect the Region, we are looking at investing in the regional rail network, so the existing and planned rail system, instead of investing in a new commuter rail system. We're still working to connect all Wake County communities both to each other and to the existing transit systems, as well as introducing a new investment that we're calling a community transportation hub, and we're funding 5 of those that would be in the outlying municipalities. We're continuing to expand the frequent bus network, as well as continuing to implement the Bus Rapid Transit network for create frequent, reliable urban mobility. And finally, for enhanced access to transit, we're planning to invest at least $3 million a year to improve bus stops, transit facilities, sidewalks, and crosswalks, tripling the size of the community funding area program to invest more in individual communities, and investing in programs to make transit more affordable, such as a transit access program. Here we are expecting to have approximately $3 billion to spend over the next 10 years. That includes funding both new funding that's going to be generated, as well as funding that we currently have in savings. As you can see, a large majority of that is going to our Bus Rapid Transit network and more bus service, as well as regional rail, with all the other investments there decreasing. For Connect the Region, we have what we've termed our DNA map that is now becoming less and less of a DNA map. We show here a potential I-40 Bus Rapid Transit to provide connection between Raleigh and RTP and hopefully onto Durham with a frequent bus service. We also show the now regional rail investment with the dotted orange line, and which is the existing Amtrak service and the planned S-Line service up to Wake Forest that NCDOT is working on. We have our Connect All Wake County Communities map here, which is just showing how we're trying to build out our intra-regional network inside of Wake County, connecting all the communities both to each other and to Cary and Raleigh as much as possible. We have a number of existing and proposed transit centers shown, and then the outlying communities all have proposed community transportation hubs. We will fund 5 of those, and we will be working in the bus plan that we're starting later this year, where we'll determine how those community transportation hubs will be chosen. One additional note I want to say too is the dotted lines here show the potential frequent network that could be built out. We may not be able to build all that network out by 2035. A lot of that will be dependent on the bus plan that we're getting ready to start, but we wanted to show the universe of network that we could build out by 2035 depending on funding. And also one thing I'll note on here too is that as we build out our regional network outside of the core of Raleigh and Cary, we're also looking to try and operate more of these regional or intra-regional routes between the towns longer during the day, more days during the week, and with higher frequency. Next, we have our frequent reliable urban mobility map, which is, again, focused primarily on Raleigh and Cary. You can see the BRT network in the dark red. We have 2 dark red dotted lines. Those are to recognize our two planned potential BRT routes. One is at I-40 BRT between Raleigh and RTP and hopefully onto Durham. The other is a potential north-south BRT in Cary running along roughly Harrison Avenue and Kildare Farm Road from I-40 down to Regency Park around US 64. The plan right now is that we will be doing a study on those 2 routes at one time and determine which one will move forward first. There will be some minor updates to the plan over the next month during this public comment period to make clear that we are not saying which of those routes will definitely move forward first. We're going to be doing a study to determine which one makes sense to implement first. We're also looking to increase the frequent service. A lot of that will likely be in Raleigh, but potentially some in Cary as well. We're planning right now with the funding that we have, we believe we can triple our frequent service network from around 109 miles to about 304 miles over the next 10 years. That includes 65 miles of bus rapid transit service. If we luck out with funding and everything else, we could potentially increase our frequent bus network to 529 miles. In order to do that, that would mean we would implement everything that you saw on the previous map. Again, the dotted lines recognize all the routes that may become frequent. Not all of them will become frequent in the next 10 years. That'll be determined in the bus plan that we'll be starting up here shortly. And finally, we have our enhanced access to transit. This map really hasn't changed from the last 2 versions of the plan. The 2 big investments here are the set aside of $3 million a year. Roughly, it'll be a little bit more than $3 million a year, but I think it's a total of around $40 million to invest in sidewalks, bus stops, crosswalks, and then tripling the community funding area program from what was originally planned for about $20 million over the next 10 years to $60 million. Again, just summarize some of the major changes. We have our investment in regional rail instead of commuter rail for the next 10 years. Still have some work to do to figure out exactly what that investment will look like, but we do have funding set aside for that. We have our expanded bus rapid transit network. We have our 4 core services, including the 2 northern corridor branches that Raleigh is currently studying. We have our 2 extensions, Cary to RTP and Gardner to Clayton. We recently started a study on those 2 extensions to be able to move them closer into design and engineering. And we also have the study and implementation of either a new I-40 BRT with an airport transfer hub or a Harrison Avenue, Kildare Farm Road BRT in Cary. And we also have funding set aside to study and plan for, I believe it's around 5 future bus rapid transit corridors throughout the county. Again, primarily in Raleigh and Cary, but there is one, I think, that could connect from RTP all the way down to Apex. And then we have our expanded community funding area program. We've lowered the matching requirement for those communities and increased funding. One of the considerations that we made when we lowered that matching requirement is actually we looked at the over the next 10 years where we expect Raleigh and Cary and Go Triangle to be, the ratio they expect to be in Wake Transit funding versus local funding. and we expect that to be around a 35% local, 65% Wake Transit funding for the big existing transit systems. So we've made that change for the community funding area to also make it hopefully a little bit easier for them to implement more projects. For the metrics, we are changing one metric. So we're using, instead of proximity to transit that we've had for the last 7 or 8 years, we're going to an access to transit metric. So part of that is, previously we've used half mile from a transit corridor. We're going to 3/4 of a mile from a transit, we've previously used 3/4 of a mile from a transit corridor. We're going to half mile from a transit stop or access point, bus stop, bus station, transfer point. And we're also measuring that half mile using the road, sidewalk, and pedestrian network instead of a general catchment area. We'll still have those, split into all day and frequent transit with using service standards, and then we've updated our goals and targets. So in the current plan, using the 3/4 mile metric, we had an employment access goal of 81% and a population access goal of 55% to all-day transit. We are lowering those goals to employment access of 67% and population access of 44%, but that's to recognize that we're also going to a much tighter metric with a much tighter evaluation. And then for frequent transit, we, in the current plan, we have an employment access goal of 43% and a population access goal of 23%. Those are going to 52% employment access goal and 26% population access goal within a half mile to frequent transit, because we do think that we'll be able to get close to those with our frequent transit investments. We also have several additional documents that have been worked on through this process that will ultimately become appendices to the adopted plan and have their own process for adoption. We have a community funding area program management plan. That document will actually be going out to public comment in mid-September for about a month, with a public hearing at the Campo Executive Board in October. We have microtransit guidelines that were actually adopted by the TPAC in August. And then we have prioritization guidance that we are going to be continuing to talk with TPAC and the Program Development Subcommittee about. Currently, the way that's been drafted, we have 4 broad tiers. We're going to be working through that, and that will either stay as guidance that's adopted by the TPAC or will become a policy that will be adopted by the Wake Transit governing boards. And we hope to have that finalized here through the end of the year as well. Finally, we've did our phase 3 engagement back in May, following up on our first 2 phases that I previously had come and talked to this group about. The phase 3 really focused on the 10-year strategy, investment strategy, and just asked for general feedback and whether there's support for our proposed strategy. You can see the executive summary document on the screen. That's what also, I believe, I handed out to this group back in May. And so with phase 3, we focused on that executive summary document. We were also trying to, again, continue to increase awareness around Wake Transit and remind folks about ongoing projects and investments. And what we heard was generally overall agreement with the proposed strategy. While we did get overall general agreement, we didn't have a lot of survey results countywide, but part of that is also because of the way we did the outreach. So even though we don't have a lot of survey results, we take that to mean that, a lot of people were generally okay with the way we're approaching things, and that there's some survey fatigue out there as well. But we also did a number of events and received qualitative feedback, generally showing interest in expanding transit service, desires to continue to increase the frequency of existing routes. There was some curiosity about how route change communications could be made. There's continued interest in future rail expansion, and frequent transit riders expressed the desire for better conditions at existing stations and stops. So next steps, we're currently in our public engagement period. It started on September 5th and will run through October 5th. We have a joint public hearing with the Campo Executive Board and the Go Triangle Board of Trustees next Wednesday at the Campo Executive Board meeting. And then in November, we are hoping that the plan will be adopted by both of those boards. And finally, if you are interested in more information, we have our website there. The first public input website will take you straight to the plan website, or you can go to waketransit.org, which is our new website that we just recently built out for Wake Transit. It's really primarily focused around notices for public comment periods, but you can see the plan there and any of our other documents and other things that are currently out for public comment or that will be going out for public comment in the next month or two. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Who has questions?
Madam Chair, I'm really excited to hear about the sidewalk investment. Could you tell me a little bit more of when it's going to be implemented and, sent out to the city?
So we have always had, we've always had agencies get money from Wake Transit for bus stop and even some sidewalk improvements. It's been, most of the time, the sidewalk improvements have been associated directly with bus stop projects. So this is really continuation of that. It's just a recognition now that we are going to set aside money specifically for that type of work. And so the money is set aside in our financial model for each year over the next 10 years. But we will, again, as we usually do, be relying on the agencies to submit projects to use that money. Raleigh has one or two essentially ongoing bus stop projects that they submit every year and they, I think, change the money amount a little bit every year, but to address their bus stop program, where they also oftentimes include some sidewalk stuff. NC State has recently done several projects around bus stops and sidewalks. We've also had some of the smaller communities do that through the CFA program. Cary and Go Triangle also have ongoing bus stop projects where they are looking at doing bus stop improvements or modernizing bus stops, and a lot of those oftentimes include some sidewalk. We're just elevating that in the plan to make it clear that we do want to continue to invest in that type of infrastructure to try and make it easier for folks to get to those bus stops.
So you were saying the expansion from 20 million to 60 million will be primarily to enhance the bus stops themselves and the shelters?
No, that is for our community funding area. So that's the program that we have where we provide funding at a match, requiring local match to all the outlying communities. So not Raleigh and not Cary, but all the other outlying communities in Wake County, including unincorporated Wake County and RTP. Gotcha. It's an application process that they go through each year. Currently, they fund 50% of the cost of those projects. Starting in FY27, they'll be able to only have to fund 35% of that. So that is how, if you're aware, town of Morrisville has a microtransit system. They funded that through the community funding area program. Apex has a circulator, fixed route circulator they fund through that program. Holly Springs just received funding for a microtransit service. Wake Forest just received funding for their microtransit service through that program. And then we have a few other towns and municipalities that have received capital funds for making sidewalk and other improvements relating to bus stops and being able to get people to bus stops for existing bus routes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One question is, from all of the other cities and towns you just mentioned, is Garner and that location going out towards Garner, Clayton area, is that considered part of the areas that could be,
yes,
available for that?
Yeah, and they are looking at, I believe they are looking at trying to maybe put in funding for a project either this year or next to help connect to some of the existing Go Raleigh services down in that area, and also to build up for the future Southern Bus Rapid Transit corridor that'll be serving that area as well.
Other questions from the board? I had two.
One more question. So in relation, and I'm kind of a little small champion for this, but when it comes to the Garner, like when people are thinking about that, the new VA location that's located down there,
Yeah.
should definitely always probably be in the discussion on how to get the veterans to and from or get them linked to that area.
Yeah, and I know the folks in Gardner are already thinking about that. I actually presented very similar presentation to their town council a couple weeks ago, and that came up. So they're already, from their town council, are already thinking about that. But the best way at this point, from the Wake Transit perspective, the best way to serve that facility is going to be through a community funding area project because of its location.
Thank you.
Were there other questions, Ms. Johnson? Okay, sorry. I had two. One, and also I just want to say that I really like the new website. Like being able to go somewhere and like directly know where to put feedback is a major improvement. All the information used to be there, but it's much clearer where and what it's saying now.
Thank you.
So good job on that. To that point, my question on the feedback right now, you mentioned the prioritization guidance, which we've talked about being of interest to this board before. Is that included in the current draft, or are we still awaiting that document?
That is not included this time. Depending on how it ends up coming out after further discussion with TPAC, if it remains as guidance, there may not be much of a public comment period on it. It was included in the May public comment period, but as we started talking through the guidance with TPAC, there was some discussion about wanting to maybe change it or maybe even make larger changes. So that's where we've pulled back on that and are having some further discussions. So it likely, if we do bring it back out for public comment, it'll be later this fall or even after the first of the year.
Okay. If you could relate to TPAC that this body is interested in being part of that feedback process.
Okay.
And then relatedly, you mentioned the bus plan update that will come after this in order to write implementation. Is there some targeted start for that we should be aware of?
Right now, we're starting to work through scoping with our consultants. So our goal is to be able to start that as soon as we can after the adoption of the transit plan. So I think at this point, the likelihood is that the earliest work on that would be December. More than and if that is the case, it would be a lot of background administrative work during the month of December and really have a bigger kickoff in January, February timeframe. So, but we are working on that scoping and keeping in mind and working through how we will ensure that all the bus agencies are involved, and then also with our public engagement side of that, how we'll involve all the stakeholders. Obviously, with it being a more of a bus-focused plan, we will focus a lot more of our engagement on existing and future bus riders versus more of the county-wide engagement that we did for the transit plan. So, but more to come on that.
Okay, sounds good. I know staff usually keeps us up to date on those things. Just thinking in terms of Ms. Davis's comment earlier that we try to think of ourselves as sources of information for the general public on some of these things, so it's good for us to know. I think that's all I had. Any other questions on the Wake Transit Plan? Thank you. Go ahead.
Real quick, Ben, can you give an example of when that prioritization policy would be triggered, just to make sure there's clarity on what that is for?
And that's one of the things that we still are working through with the TPAC. Currently, as the draft had been written, the idea was that it was a broader prioritization guidance that would be used each year in the development of the work plan. But there is some desire to also have it be some broader policy relating to overall use of Wake Transit funds. So that's what we're working through with the TPAC. And hopefully we'll determine here over the next couple months exactly what that will look like. And as I said, if it does turn into more of a policy document, we will take that through the governing boards for their approval.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. I think that was the nature of my ask because that prioritization is sort of key to some of the original agreement and how we understood capital and operating and Go Raleigh versus the other communities. And so it's of interest to continue to be engaged in the conversation if that relationship should shift or evolve through those policies.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I got one question
Uh-oh.
before you walk away, real quick.
Go ahead.
You spoke about the commuter rail. So your plan is to focus more now on the bus transit and away from the commuter rail that we was hearing so much about, and there was a huge investment set to be put into that?
Correct. We still have a heavy investment in rail in the next 10-year plan. It's just instead of commuter rail, we're investing in the rail that's already existing. So the thought there being that if we invest in additional infrastructure or even service that Amtrak's already offering, we can get some service that may approximate what we would have gotten with commuter rail a lot easier, a lot cheaper, and a lot faster. But more to come on that. That's where we're still trying to figure out. The MPOs, both Campo and then the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization that covers Durham, Chapel Hill, and Orange County, they have recently completed a regional rail study at the MPO levels. And so we actually have a meeting tomorrow on that. And we're going to be taking a look at what comes out of that and determining if we need to do some additional study on the Wake Transit side to determine how best to utilize our $250 million of rail investment.
Okay, because I remember, I think it was earlier last year, there was a huge federal funding to help with that. Was that, there was a grant, something that was down?
That was for the S line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was one of the thoughts with the Wake Transit setting aside funding for regional rail is that we could invest funding towards that S line to help DOT or help the local communities get better service along that new S line. Because that is projected to, have service starting before 2030. So.
Okay, this is my final question. Did all these surveys and all of this stuff, these reports y'all getting generated, is DOT doing that? Or y'all got an outside contractor doing that? Or is your staff doing it?
We have done all the, for the transit plan, we had a consultant that helped us with the engagement for the first 3 phases. This current engagement phase, and we'll have one final brief phase once the document's adopted, to let everyone know the document's adopted. These last 2 phases are being done internally by staff.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so just remind me, so this will go, assuming it gets adopted, this will go into effect 2026, right? And then the bus plan, when do we anticipate the bus plan to have elements of this to go into effect? Would that be?
So we expect the bus plan to be completed by early spring of 2027.
Okay.
So it's a roughly 14 to 18 month process for the bus plan.
Right.
So it will cover starting fiscal year 27, 28, well, really fiscal year 28, and we'll cover, we'll have what we call our short range transit plans, which are part of that. Those will cover fiscal years 28 through about 30, 31. And then the bus plan itself will cover out through 35. But we'll be updating our bus plan again in another roughly 4 years after we update the transit plan again in about 4 years.
Right, right. So then the bus plan, I'm sure I remember this, right? The bus plan would inform the annual work plans.
Yes.
So we're talking 28 timeframe. So
Yep.
so roughly we might see some of this and getting implemented FY 28, roughly.
Yeah, the current bus plan that was actually adopted in 23, 24 timeframe currently has short range transit plans through FY 27. So we're pretty much set through FY 27, and so the new bus plan will pick up from there.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
All right.
Any further questions for Mr. Howell? Thank you very much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time. Okay. Next, we're talking about BRT, specifically about public engagement. Mr. Walker, your name is after this.
Nobody from the BRT team's jumping up, so yep, we'll cover it real quickly. September 22nd, there'll be a BRT open house at Chavis Memorial the Carousel House on the kind of the backside down there Chavis Way. October 2nd, a Northern BRT route options. That will be at the Green Road Community Center between 5 and 8 p.m. October 6th, Northern BRT again at the 5 Points Active Center for Active Adults. And then we don't have a date set yet for the Southern BRT, but there will be some engagement opportunities for those. And obviously, we'll be pushing all of these dates out in our Friday weekly updates that we provide. So just wanted to make sure everybody's aware. We do have a decent amount of BRT engagement opportunities coming up over the next 30 to 60 days.
Thank you for that. And I think just from myself, I think it's important that members of the board here attend some of these. Not everyone has to go to everyone, but I think hopefully more than one of us can be at each one of these to hear, like Ms. Davis pointed out, the feedback directly from folks and questions that they have, and also see the presentations. We've seen them before, but it's always good to see them at the same time that everyone else sees them as well. What is next? Does anyone have questions on these events? Okay.
I'll just say real quickly on Ben's presentation, your voices are important. You have an opportunity now until October 5th to provide comments on that bus plan update that he was just presenting on. So please be heard.
Yeah, it looks like there's a survey, and also we should type thoughts and send them to them in detail for what we think is in our own personal opinion, not just what we express as a body here when they come to see us. Okay, committee reports. Ms. Williams is excused absent today, so she did send me notes on route committee, but I'll ask those route members that if I miss anything as I read her notes. I was not in attendance at that committee meeting this month, so she sent me very detailed notes, and I'm going to do an overview of them. So please, if there are details that need to be added, let me know. The FY27 Wake Transit Plan Work Plan Review has projects that are upcoming. And actually, Mr. Walker, I don't know if you want to speak to anything specific there. I just have a list of routes from her that are receiving service increases and changes, which I believe we've all seen before. Is there any particular action or anything feedback that is needed on those?
No, this was just staff's first update to the route committee for those projects that are in that final year of our current short-range plan for FY27. So by the end of this month, we'll be submitting the projects that we discussed, which are Route 10, Old Wake Forest package, which is a change to the current 25L. It gets split in two, and then the southern portion of that existing route extends all the way over towards Glenwood Avenue. There's additional, Route 7 is listed, but there'll be no changes on that because that's tied to the southern BRT.
Okay, so if folks want to see Route 10, 25L, and the new, is it 32?
Yes.
L, those are in the board docs presentations. You can take a look more thoroughly at those route updates that will be happening in FY27 because we plan well ahead these days on the bus plan. The other was some R-line discussion. Route has received an overview on, the history of the R-line. I know everyone has been talking about this in committee, so I don't want to spend too much time here. But there is kind of a desire to look at how the R-line could be improved or adjusted based on goals that we set. So I think marketing is going to talk a little bit about those. And then there was also discussion on the FY26 service changes that are coming up soon.
Yeah, that was just a quick reminder regarding the changes, the 26 changes. I believe those will take place in October and then again in March of 26. The big change in October is Route 1 Capital will become that first 10-minute frequency service in the county amongst the agencies. Routes, that route, Route 7 and Route 15 will all get consistent frequencies on the weekends, operating every 15 minutes. and then I believe additional 30-minute services after 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So we're just kind of building up those 3 routes that are all 3 future BRT corridors to have some consistent services. And then I think there's some minor changes on a few of the other routes that were included in that Title VI report that you saw.
Okay, and I just want to say again and repeat it, the first 10-minute frequency bus route in Wake County ever. That's a pretty cool milestone that we're coming up on next month. Thank you, staff, and RITP Dev for making that possible. And then we already talked a little bit about the Boards and Commissions Special Committee, which was also discussed en route. So I think that leads us to Finance and Policy Committee. Ms. Davis?
Okay, thank you. We met last week and had several things that we're happy to bring forth to you guys. Last month, as we discussed in full committee, we were given the task to review the holiday policy. And at each of your chairs today, you've got a printout of what we approved. And basically, what we said is that the current policy of days that are recognized as a holiday schedule, and therefore we have reduced level of service compared to our Sunday service, these are going to stay the same. Then we list there the 2 holidays that Go Raleigh is closed, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And Go Raleigh closes early on Christmas Eve. So what we voted on is that in October of each year, the Finance and Policy staff will review and approve the holiday schedule for the next calendar year. The Transit Division staff is going to present to us some of the statistics about how many people rode on those holidays, you know, if there was any change, and we'll use that information and discussion to propose the next year's calendar. Also, in October of each year, we'll review any new current federal holidays to make sure that there's not a holiday we want to add to our current list. A review of the average ridership for the holiday compared to the average ridership for non-holidays is going to be made so that we can determine whether it's cost-effective, people-effective, staff-effective to add something. And just for context, everyone knows that the reason this came up is that some other transit authorities recognize Juneteenth or some of the other holidays, and it was discussed whether or not we wanted to make any kind of proposal around that. So this is what we agreed and voted unanimously to pass, and so we're bringing it forward today and wanted to propose that we as a body vote on whether or not to approve this.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. So that's a recommendation from committee, which is essentially a motion from you as the board chair.
Yes.
Is there a second for approval of the holiday policy?
Is there room for a question before we do that?
Can we do a second and then do a discussion so we're correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know that I can do that because I'm not voting today, but someone else can.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes. Maybe it's just me. I just reread the bullet point underneath Go Raleigh closes early on Christmas Eve, starting at 7 p.m. Each route will perform the first trip at the regularly scheduled time. After the first trip of the 7 p.m. hour, no additional trips will be performed. I don't fully understand what that means. Can somebody explain that?
I'll be glad to. So there are some routes that have more than one trip in an hour after 7 o'clock. So, for instance, if there was a 7:15 and then a 7:45 departure in the 7 o'clock hour, only that 7:15 trip would be performed.
Thank you. That was my only point of confusion, so thank you so much.
I welcome all questions. Is there any further discussion regarding the holiday policy? Okay. Then I would like to call the vote. All those in favor of the holiday policy?
Aye.
Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. And I believe you have a couple other things for us out of your committee, Ms. Davis.
Yes. Another thing that we did at our meeting last week was review this fabulous chart that everybody also has a copy of at your chairs. Staff prepared this because, as you all will remember, we've been discussing the policies for ridership on the buses and how we communicate to riders what our policies are. Once this is passed, this is the type of thing that will be posted in Go Raleigh Station. We might try to find a way to post it inside the buses and at least at the bus stops. But as you will note, and this is kind of adopted from several other transit agencies around the country, using a chart like this makes it a lot easier to figure out what's allowed, what's not. And the biggest thing we were doing is talking about scooters, and we had some pretty extensive discussion about it. And what we came up with, what staff came up with, is this chart, but our consensus is that we will allow personal scooters, if they're folded, to be taken on board the buses. If it is a non-electric scooter, same thing. They'll be allowed if they can fold. The shared fleet e-scooters, like the new Lime and Spin scooters, we would not ever allow those. They're too bulky. They really take up too much space, and it could be hazardous for riders to allow those. The other good thing about this chart is that it does show bicycles. I'll just try to hurry through this. One of the things that we discussed was whether fat tire bikes, a lot of people are getting those these days, and a lot of people are buying, the e-bikes. So what this chart shows is what our consensus was. Anybody's personal standard bike is allowed on the exterior rack of the bus. That's how it is now. If the rack is full, it's at the driver's discretion if they want to allow a bicycle on, but we're leaving it in the operator's discretion. But it's only pretty rarely and on some of the most busiest commuter routes that ever happens. Anyway, no need for me to read all this, but what we're saying is this is what Finance and Policy passed unanimously that we wanted to bring to the full board for your discussion today. And I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
So that's a motion out of the committee, essentially, from Ms. Davis. Is there a second?
I second it.
I have some items of discussion. It looks like maybe Mr. Thomas and Ms. Johnson do as well.
Yeah, we might be having the same one.
Mr. Thomas?
Under strollers, you have if folded and stowed under the seat, child must remain in guardianship slap. My thing on all the buses I've had is that you can't have an open stroller on a bus at all. Mm-hmm. No matter if it's for one kid or two kids. If folded, with that saying that, you're going to create a little issue because some people are going to say, well, you don't say it's supposed to be folded. You say if folded.
Oh, I think the if means that's the only way it's allowed, because that's the way we say for the bicycles or the scooters. It will be allowed on board if it's folded and stowed under the seat. So in other words, this actually represents the same policy we've always had, which is the umbrella-type strollers, the very small strollers that are easily folded and stowable, is the only thing that we're comfortable allowing for safety reasons. The bigger strollers that could carry 2 children or carry, you know, groceries and the diaper bag and the lunch, those cannot be folded, and if they are not folded, they're going to block, you know, the handicap access and block the aisles. So we just really, after a lot of discussion, said it's just too risky, and we just don't believe that we can safely approve having those strollers open on the bus.
Okay.
I have more stroller comments. Ms. Johnson, you had something as well?
That was the comment.
Okay. I personally feel very strongly that this stroller policy is not welcoming to all of our riders. As a mom of multiple kids who has had to try to fold her stroller and hold a kid on the side of a busy road and groceries, this is not accommodating. Since we had that discussion in committee, it's been brought to my attention that Go Durham now allows strollers to remain unfolded, to have children in them, and to use the wheelchair portion, just like a wheelchair user would, of the bus, as long as the parent keeps hands on the stroller while the bus is going. So I'm really excited about this policy. I'm really glad that we're doing it. I really appreciate all the work from staff that's gone into all of those pieces. The only one I have issue with is the stroller one. I'm totally willing to vote for this policy as it is, but I hope that some other folks on the board would be willing to have staff go back and have a conversation with Go Durham about how they were able to come to a different decision than we were.
Yeah, I was not even aware of that, so I'm not sure that our staff knew that that must be a recent change in Durham.
I think it is.
It's recent. It was news, I think, to me. I don't think we talked about that last week in the committee. However, the location that Durham is going to allow those strollers is in the wheelchair area. We did have lengthy conversations specifically about using that space in the committee, so that was definitely considered, and still the committee determined that it's just not safe. It puts the driver in a very bad position when you come to the next stop and there is a wheelchair person that needs to use that space. So, you know, it was discussed in committee.
Yeah, absolutely. We did discuss that very thing because there is obviously limited wheelchair space on the bus, and sometimes when somebody gets on with a stroller, they might talk the driver into it and say, I'll just put it right here, and then the very next stop could be somebody in a wheelchair, which would then disrupt and slow down the bus on, slow the bus's schedule and the whole thing. And it just seemed, especially, at least in our discussions, that it was dangerous and that, a baby could go flying out of the stroller if there was some sort of a collision. And so we just didn't feel like we were prepared for that type of liability.
I followed that discussion in committee this time and 2 years ago when we had the discussion. I do think that Durham made a different decision than us and has a very similar situation, and they did so after extensive public engagement, which we have not done on this particular topic. So again, I'm willing to move the vote forward and move this policy forward at this time, but I would ask for some support from other board members to put the stroller piece back into committee for further discussion.
Madam Chair, I would like to see some data, so if a survey could be sent out to the population on this particular subject.
I think putting it back in committee would be the first step.
To the consumers, if there is a survey sent out to them about their opinion, if that was possible, of this issue, if they encounter problems. if there was a way that it could be sent out to the riders of Go Raleigh. I'm not I don't know if that can be done, but I would like to see some data. I would like to see some comments on that discussion.
That's a fair point. Mr. Suarez?
But even from like just user experience, I mean, you talk about a conflict between someone with a stroller and then someone, let's say, in a wheelchair comes in, and you talk about that conflict. I mean, just think about this. Just think about the logistics of if I'm standing at a bus stop and my young child's in a stroller, and an operator asks me, "You need to now fold it." That's, doing it one-handed. It's like I'm going to slow everything down, So I wonder if, I think it does need more discussion, personally.
I totally agree, because I just thought when somebody's in a wheelchair, it takes additional time. So to be equal.
Yeah, and there's like a bit of like,
Durham's announcement does address some of this. I think this is a friendly amendment to the motion on the table that the stroller piece be pushed back. Do you accept the friendly amendment, Linda?
Yes, I would say we would take it back to committee and discuss. I know there's support for the rest of it, but since we're trying to do this mobility device policy in one, I would just say that in order to address the stroller part, we'll take this back into our committee and take a thorough look at it, especially to determine how Durham felt comfortable making their decision.
Okay. So you want to do that with the whole policy? So it all comes through at once next month?
I think staff would rather have one and done versus let's do a piece of it now and then a piece of it later, because we would start distributing the policy, and then if a change was made to add strollers or do that differently, then we would need to update it.
Okay.
So let's just push it back to committee if that's okay with the chair, and then we'll, we can reach out to Durham and have some conversations with them and see what led to their decisions. I'm not sure that we can do a survey that costs money and our budgets are set, but we can potentially look at some potential ways to try to collect a little bit of data.
I just have one question, just about the stroller policy. Let's say even with Durham, if it's in that handicap, wheelchair area, does that mean that the stroller has to actually be latched in, kind of like when they're hooked in for?
It doesn't say that. It is up on their website now, and they address that strollers move out of the way of the wheelchair and that it's hands-on, which is what a lot of subway and metro and other forms of transit say, which is the parent remains responsible for the stroller not moving by keeping hands on it instead of the wheelchair latch.
Okay. So
but we can talk about that more in committee. I'm going to say that this is just a withdrawn motion then, so you can take the whole policy back to committee.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have other items?
Let me check. Well, just like with the route committee, we did have a discussion about the city council special committee on boards and commissions, and I think that was one of the reasons that so many people of our board decided to come the other night. We knew that there was, interest in whether or not we would be folded in with other boards or committees. And the second thing is that the proposed name change came up, and we had never heard that was something somebody proposed. We did not propose it. So anyway, we just had that discussion, and that was the end of our meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, and everyone on finance and policy. You guys are doing a lot of work reviewing these policies, and we appreciate the attention to detail and effort. We'll turn it over to marketing, Mr. Suarez.
Yeah. So we met last week. Marketing metrics and the influencer campaign. So we discussed that a little bit. It was not a great time to get the metrics because we just rolled into a new month with the new influencer. So I think the next time we'll get some feedback and some numbers. So we also had the same R-line presentation, went through that, great discussion followed. Nothing immediate, but I will want to keep this on someone's agenda at least, one of the committees. I don't think it needs to be both, but hey, if it is, that's fine. We talked about possible, I don't know, I brought up an idea of a short-term enhancement for the R line, talk about its hours of operation. Does it match with when users are using it? And from my point of view, it's a different downtown, each day. So maybe that can be tweaked. So put a request out for maybe some data behind that. Maybe there's something short-term we can do to address the criticism of no one's riding the R line. And then long-term, we'll still mull over this, see if there's something to do there. Clearly, the presentation showed us that people are moving to more personalized mobility options in the downtown area versus some shared service. So we'll keep that one open. And then, short presentation on committees and boards.
Related to the R-line topic, I think at the last month's meeting, you had a suggestion that we have some discussion over the goals and purpose that the R-line is meant to serve.
Right.
Rather than just changes. I think it was really good to get the background presentation that staff gave at the committees and looking back at where it's been and how things are currently and all of those details before having that conversation. If there's consensus in the board, I think we would say that it goes on marketing's agenda for committee next month to have more of that purpose and branding type of conversation. And then based on that conversation and what gets reported out and discussed, then we can push it back to route to talk more about the details of what that means for service. I think that makes the most sense. And then if anyone would like to come and discuss the R-line, they can come to the marketing meeting. And we'll try to corral conversations and work. Does that work, Mr. Walker?
I agree.
That would work. What staff had suggested at both of the committees last week was, after we did that presentation, was to let us kind of do some additional homework on the R-line to try to determine, what our best thoughts are as staff to what it could do, maybe shouldn't do. And if it doesn't do anything, then, potentially where can those funds be better utilized? So our request was just to hold it at both committees. We're not going to push it out. It'll still sit there. And then we'll come back, if not in October and November, with some thoughts and comments. I do know that the R-line came up at the council work session, I believe on Tuesday. I wasn't there, but I got a...
There are several counselors who are interested in the conversation.
Some comments about, some opportunities. I think we even talked in committee about the potential connection to Dix Park. So staff's request is to let us kind of do our work in the background and then come back to marketing with what that is or what it might look like, and then decide whether we need to determine what does it look like, what are the goals, what are the all those things.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway that I got from the discussion was maybe you don't even think about it as this bus called the R line. It's funds that support mobility in and around downtown.
Okay.
Brainstorm that.
It does sound like staff needs some time to bring it back to us. We can work out the details in subcommittee agendas, but probably marketing, I think, is the next logical place for it to land, whether that's October or November. Did you have anything else, Mr. Shore? Any other questions for marketing? It's the first time we're having questions. Okay. That brings us to the general manager's report from RITP Dev. Right at 5 o'clock, too. We're doing good on time. Hello, Ms. Dupree. Glad to have you.
Hello. I feel like it's been a while. Okay. So we'll start with fixed route with the staffing and the missed trips. So in July, we were right at 250 operators. We've been hovering around that for the last few months, we're still trending in that same number. We gain some, and then we lose a few to retirement and other market competition in the region. So we've been looking at some ideas on how we can continue to make improvements and strides in gaining more employees. As you all know, we have a service increase that starts next month. So we're continuing on with some of those efforts. Our missed trips, you'll see we're continuing to have less of them. In July, there were 74, I think there was. And then in August, we were at 57. So we're there, and to date, we have 3. So we've been, again, aggressively looking at some campaigns and doing some
Thank
different
you.
things. You're welcome.
On behalf of all the riders.
Very nice.
You're welcome. And we would have had less last month. Some of those were related to vehicle availability, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the PMs. On-time performance, you'll see we are continuing to make strides in that area as well. We're at 79%, and again, we've been looking at all aspects. We talk about that every month. We focus in a lot on the operators. We're bringing them in, doing counseling. We also have some incentives around that. The planning team has done a lot of work with Clever to make sure that the coding is right in the Clever devices in terms of the time points, et cetera. So we're continuing to work on that, and we are optimistic that we will reach the target goal of 85% soon. Okay, so PM completion for July, you'll see that was a little less than 96%. Primary reason were a lot of breakdowns due to the heat. According to the meteorologist, it was the hottest summer here in Raleigh, and our vehicles felt the brunt of it. So now that we're past that season, hopefully we'll see less of those breakdowns, and we've also added some vehicles to our fleet, 4 new electric vehicles. We're repurposing the articulated buses so that they'll be used on some of the routes. And we've gotten some of our buses back that were on hard downs. So so that number will be back at 100%, and we are having less issues with fleet availability. July was a very tough month for us. Questions?
No, I have comments. I am very happy. Your report card, I have been excited. I've been watching the OTP. It's been going up. You know, there's a lot of positive things in this report. I do have a question, though. The ones that are below 70%, I have noticed consistently it tends to be some of the same routes. So why are some struggling?
Yeah, so we've been looking at that one of the routes. How just full transparency, we had a complaint on the 33, so we pulled that to see exactly what's going on that route with the different drivers and different times of the day. So there are many factors. So if I see a driver that has 100% completion on-time performance at all the stops versus another driver that doesn't, we pull that in. If it's a consistent issue with every driver along the route, then our job is to make sure that we notate that and then make sure that we get the time points evaluated, right? So we haven't found that to be the case on any of the routes. We found that some of the newer drivers, and I've said this before, but the data supports it, sometimes it is difficult for them to maintain those timetables. And our message to the new drivers is always safety before schedule. So we continue to work with them on that,
I've
but that's
noticed
normally what it is.
number 8. It is my neighbors. So route number 8 is consistently in the 60s.
Okay, I'll take a look at number 8.
Yes, please.
Okay.
That's 6 Forks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if we're not going to talk about paratransit, I have to
Sorry.
talk to them because they are doing an amazing job. And Tressica,
I think she just wanted us to do fixed route questions first.
Yes.
Does anyone else have fixed route questions? Okay. Thank you very much for driver recruitment that allows us to do the service changes and for working on the on-time performance. We appreciate seeing the progress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, paratransit praise can commence.
Okay. All right, so of course, that's just expenditures. The taxis per trip rate. And so the missed trips for both. So for July, it looks like, the taxis did go up a little bit, but just to be able to say, a lot of them did vacations and stuff, the various ones, so we had to kind of cover for those trips. And then the vans, so the taxis had 151, the vans had, I think it was 2 for the month of July for missed trips. The Go Raleigh OTP, so for the vans, the OTP was at 86.23%. And for the taxis, they ended out at 91.72% overall. Oh, and I think that's it.
Excellent.
Well, I have to share with the community, 2 years ago in August, it was a disaster.
Yes.
I mean, we had a nightmare. And it continued, and the call center, the customer service improved over time. In the last 6 months, I'm having complaints because my community doesn't have to wait for 20, your caller number 20. I'm amazed. I'm very, very impressed. There is one specific issue. The timing we're having an issue with. We're told that they're picking us up at 5 o'clock, and it's consistently 20 to 25 minutes later than the actual time. And I'm talking about the outside the window where it's saying it's going to be there between 4:50 and 5 p.m. So consistently, I've been using all different kinds of vendors to test everybody. And I'm finding that both on the taxi vendors and Go Raleigh vans, both of them, I had experienced myself where they were 20 to 25 minutes later than the actual time that we're given. So I'm excited about the discussions with the tracker, and I am very interested on the outcome once it's introduced and you guys arrive, work it out, because that is going to be very important to our citizens, my consumers, because winter is coming up, and I don't want any of my ladies standing out at the bowling alley waiting for 30 minutes for their vehicle. But everything else, I have no complaints.
So thank you. And just an update, Mr. Mark, on the next meeting with you guys, the mayor committee, we're going to let you guys be the first to test it out. So I did get an update, and they have got it set, but you guys will be the first to test it out because y'all asked to be the testing so that y'all can track the actual vehicle itself. So I did send Sean that information earlier this morning that we did get that set up for you guys. So we have to get with you all, set up those profiles, and then we'll be able to go from there. But we're going to allow the mayor committee to actually test it out first before we push it out to everyone else.
They changed their name. Now we're Raleigh Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities.
Okay, Raleigh Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities.
Yes.
You all will be the first.
It's hard to remember
test
all the
it out.
changes.
So
Thank you.
that will
Thank you.
probably, we'll be getting with Christina to get everybody's name and get you guys set up, and we'll look forward to you guys testing it for us.
Thank you for your service.
You're
You're serving a very important community, and many times they're overlooked.
We do our best.
I have
Thank you.
2 follow-ups to Mr. Teague's comments. One is a question which perhaps would save Mr. Teague's inbox, which is if folks do experience these things, what is the best way for them to let y'all know directly about that? Is there an email or a phone number?
They've got our numbers.
This is on YouTube. I would like it to be there that everyone knows how best to do it.
So, yeah, they do it by phone, email. There's an actual email set up through Go Raleigh that allows them to send in emails. They can call any of us. They do have all the numbers. So yeah, we all follow up on that as quickly as possible.
And we have a very strong network of
I know.
communications, but I just wanted to recognize for the community, because I've had several discussions, and all of them, I'm saying, okay, how many times did you have to wait to be picked up? They're like, majority of the time they pick up immediately. And if you knew how it was 2 years ago, you would call, you would wait for 30 minutes. Then the system would knock you out. Can you imagine your grandmother standing out in the cold waiting? So they have done a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your advocacy.
Strong work.
And then can you bring a report on the new tracking app system back to Finance and Policy?
Sure.
Okay. Just so we can answer questions when people ask us what's up.
Yes.
I will say real quickly, I believe at our next meeting in October, we'll have our consultants come in to do the presentation on the results from the ADA survey. So I think it's ready, or will be ready in October. If not, it'll be November, but one of the two, you'll get those.
At the full board meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Good to hear. But yeah, just to be on top of apps. And then did anyone else have any questions on paratransit? Mr.
Okay,
Thomas?
I got two questions. First of all, the drivers that you have, the drivers that she have, are they the same people or are these two separate
Two
groups of
separate
drivers?
entities of drivers.
Okay. I'm gonna let that one go because I forgot the other question because it was so.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Oh, now I know.
Ms. Johnson, you are excused.
This is really for both of y'all. With the winter coming in, are y'all making plans or are there plans and preparations in place for emergencies with the weather conditions are probably going to be pretty bad? Y'all already have that in place right now?
There are plans in place for emergency situations due to the weather or inclement or something that happens on both sides.
Okay.
I think just
I will tell you that my community does not go out in bad weather. She can attest to that.
some of us have to go to work. Do you want to see any of that in route committee?
Yeah, I would really like to see that because, even though I'm driving now, I'm not driving on Raleigh roads when the weather goes bad. And I remember what
This is an
happened
information
last
item.
year.
What happens during bad weather?
Yeah, if we could get like RITP Dev's presentation on their inclement weather, something to do with how they treat the buses and in those situations. Is that acceptable, Ms. Dupree?
Thank you.
And we can do that in committee, so it's an information item.
It's really more of a city policy, or not necessarily a policy, but if service is going to be impacted for fixed route, it's going to impact the ADA service. To Mark's point, when we start having bad weather, cancellations come in pretty rapidly. So most of those trips are being canceled. But we mirror on the ADA side of things what happens on fixed route. So we can certainly give a quick presentation on kind of how we manage that process.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you for the report from RITP Dev. We're on the last item on our agenda, which is any concluding remarks. We've had a lot of remarks during the meeting, but if there are any authority members who have concluding remarks, now would be the time.
I just want to try to always just keep it in the forefront as the city and the area is expanding. I've mentioned it before, but definitely paying attention to how to get access into Garner, especially the VA area. It doesn't matter which entity actually helps do it, but just whenever there's talks about transportation, regardless of who's the entity that's going to be responsible for it, but champion that just for the veterans. Many of them do not have access to that area outside of an Uber, and many of them are on fixed income, things of that nature. Many of them are also disabled, because all of their services will start to be there. So it's mental health, primary care, a lot of things, and it actually can be more difficult for them to get to Benson Road than to Durham. And so, and they're starting to do a lot of construction. The bridge is closed down there for who knows how long. But it's just make that aware that it's important to them and it's important in that community that doesn't get overlooked when things are expanding.
Thank you for the reminder. Are there other concluding remarks from the 40 members? And staff?
Yeah, I've got 3 things, and I promise to be quick. Committee meetings start at the end of this month, so 3 weeks from this past Tuesday. Route will meet on the 30th, Finance and Policy the 1st, and Marketing on the 2nd, so it's going to come around really quick. Second, we've got 2 big capital projects that our team is working on internally. We've got an expansion project that is now at 100% design for the fixed route Pool Road facility. And we have just, within the last 60 days, kicked off the design process for a new ADA operations and maintenance facility that will be located almost right across the street from the current fixed route site. What I would like to do is potentially in October, maybe November, is come back to the board with a quick presentation to kind of show you some schematics of what those improvements are going to look like. And then lastly, everybody remembers this. We're in our 50th year with the Go Raleigh services being under the city. We've got 2 wrapped buses out there today, and as of tomorrow, we will have 3. Keep your eyes on social media for the big reveal. Andrea just sent me a picture, so I got a sneak peek, but we may make y'all wait till tomorrow.
Can we wrap the R-Line in gold?
No,
Permanently? Permanent swagged out R-Line bus.
I said it on Monday, but to have a 50-year tradition of bus service and staff department and a volunteer board that has been with transit for that long, it's really cool. Thank you guys for being part of it. With that, I will adjourn the meeting at 5:20, a little bit early.